In a world still grappling with deep-seated bias, companies frequently roll out diversity training sessions, hoping to address discrimination related to race, gender, and orientation. These initiatives carry lofty goals, fostering inclusion, dispelling prejudice, and bridging divides. Yet, the question lingers, do they truly work? Evidence suggests otherwise, as many such programs might inadvertently deepen bias, making people defensive or fostering divisions where none existed. So, can a prejudiced mind truly be changed? And if so, how would one even begin? To understand why we continue to wrestle with discrimination, we need to recognize the origins of bigotry. Racism, sexism, homophobia, and anti-Semitism all fall under its broad umbrella, driven by a mindset that's stubbornly resistant to change. People with such rigid beliefs don't see themselves as prejudiced. They simply view the world in a certain way, adhering to what they perceive as the natural order. For them, these notions feel like self-evident truths, not biases. Delving into this phenomenon reveals something surprisingly straightforward. Bigotry often stems from the mind's need to categorize. Since the 1950s, researchers have explored this inclination to make snap judgments, as described in The Nature of Prejudice. The human brain craves certainty and strives to simplify a complex world by sorting information into categories. When people categorize others by race, gender, or background, it reduces ambiguity, providing quick answers. But this habit becomes toxic when generalized traits are attached to entire groups. The nature of these mental shortcuts makes reversing prejudice challenging, as simply presenting counterinformation rarely works. Prejudiced individuals cling to their views because they stem from a desire for stability in a confusing world. Still, this drive to categorize can be leveraged to help reduce bias. When individuals have positive, direct experiences with diverse groups, they may adjust their perceptions. Seeing one person in a new light can shift attitudes toward the broader group. Yet, considering this explanation alongside the atrocities that bias has enabled, the acts of hate and violence carried out under its sway, it's hard to accept that prejudice can be reduced to a basic need for quick answers. The roots of such hostility run deeper than the desire for mental shortcuts. Emotions play a critical role in sustaining discrimination. Renowned psychologist Susan Fiske has explored how emotions like pity, envy, disgust, and pride underpin prejudice. Through neuroimaging studies, Fiske and her team found that emotional responses predict behaviors more effectively than negative stereotypes alone. These four emotions, tied to people's views about social and cultural groups, fuel actions that range from helping to harming. Groups perceived as low in competence and warmth, such as the homeless, often provoke disgust. Those seen as warm but less competent, like the elderly or developmentally challenged, trigger pity. Meanwhile, groups viewed as both competent and warm, such as the middle class, elicit pride and are considered the in-group. On the other hand, groups seen as competent but cold, like the wealthy or certain minority groups, may evoke envy. These emotional responses aren't just abstract feelings. They manifest in behaviors. Disgust often leads to active harm, like exclusion or aggression, while pity might prompt protective actions. Envy can breed a blend of admiration and hostility, depending on whether the envied group's status is threatened or celebrated. By mapping these emotions to brain activity, researchers have demonstrated that prejudice is not just a matter of thought, but is deeply rooted in our emotional and neurological makeup. If prejudice were purely rational, it might be easier to change. But it's not. It's visceral, often unconscious, and ingrained through societal conditioning. This is why children, who are born without such biases, can quickly develop them through exposure to societal norms. Even efforts to address discrimination in schools sometimes backfire, unintentionally highlighting differences and creating distance between students. While diversity training often aims to make participants more aware of bias, it may also draw attention to divisions. This heightened awareness can sometimes reinforce the very separations it seeks to dissolve. The goal shouldn't be to merely point out differences, but to foster environments where diverse groups grow up together, learning to see beyond those distinctions. Unraveling prejudice is no simple feat. It's a construct that society has spent centuries building. But if it can be constructed, it can also be deconstructed. The path forward lies in acknowledging that while bigotry may feel deeply personal, it is not inevitable. It's a social illusion that can be dismantled through consistent exposure to diverse perspectives, fostering empathy and cultivating shared experiences from a young age. Transforming minds hardened by bias isn't about imposing new beliefs, but encouraging genuine human connection and understanding. With time and effort, we can chip away at the walls that divide us, one interaction at a time.